Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "The most common lie is that which one lies to himself. Lying to others is relatively an exception." He spent his entire philosophical life studying the darker corners of human nature, not to condemn people, but to expose the psychological mechanisms behind deception, manipulation, and hidden malice. What Nietzsche understood, and what modern psychology has since confirmed, is that people with bad intentions rarely announce themselves. They disguise their motives behind charm, humor, and false warmth. A 2022 study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that individuals high in the dark triad traits, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, are significantly more likely to use strategic deception in social relationships. These are the people Nietzsche warned us about, and the behaviors they exhibit follow a recognizable pattern once you know what to look for. The first behavior is excessive flattery delivered at the wrong moments. Nietzsche was deeply suspicious of people who offered praise too quickly, too freely, or without real cause. He called this kind of manipulation the art of the weak, a way to gain access and trust without earning it. Research from Harvard Business School published in 2010 confirmed Nietzsche's suspicion. The study showed that flattery, even when recognized as insincere, still creates a positive emotional response in the target, making the person more likely to trust the flatterer. When someone praises you the moment they need something, or compliments you right before making a request, you are witnessing a calculated move, not genuine admiration. The second behavior is using humor to plant ideas or test your reactions. Nietzsche wrote extensively about the use of laughter as a weapon, describing how people with hidden agendas often disguise their true thoughts as jokes. They say something provocative, offensive, or revealing, then retreat with, "I was only joking," if challenged. This is what psychologists today call plausible deniability in communication. A 2018 study from Stanford University found that dark humor is frequently used as a social testing tool, where the speaker gauges your reaction before deciding how far to push a boundary. If someone's jokes consistently probe your values, your weaknesses, or your limits, Nietzsche would tell you to pay attention. The third behavior is the performance of victimhood to avoid accountability. Nietzsche identified what he called slave morality, a psychological pattern where certain people position themselves as the eternal sufferer to manipulate those around them. In real terms, this means someone who, whenever they are confronted with their own wrongdoing, immediately shifts the story to how they have been wronged. A 2020 study from Ben-Gurion University in Israel found a strong correlation between what researchers termed tendency for interpersonal victimhood and traits like lack of empathy, moral entitlement, and a desire for revenge. People with genuinely bad intentions use victimhood not as a cry for help, but as a shield against consequence. The fourth behavior is inconsistency between words and actions over time. Nietzsche believed that a person's true character is revealed not in what they say during moments of calm, but in what they do when no one is watching, or when the stakes become real. He wrote, "The strength of a person's spirit would then be measured by how much truth he could tolerate." Someone with bad intentions is often skilled at saying the right things, making promises, and expressing the correct emotions at the right time. But their actions, when traced over weeks and months, tell a completely different story. Modern personality research published in the Journal of Research in Personality confirms that behavioral consistency is one of the most reliable indicators of character, while verbal inconsistency, saying one thing and doing another repeatedly, is a strong predictor of Machiavellian behavior. The fifth behavior is an obsessive interest in other people's weaknesses and private information. Nietzsche was fascinated by what he called the will to power, and he recognized that one of its most corrupt expressions is the collection of information about others not out of care or curiosity, but as a form of leverage. People with bad intentions ask probing personal questions early in a relationship. They remember specific vulnerabilities you've shared and bring them up at the most damaging moments. They seem unusually interested in your failures, your fears, and your insecurities. A 2019 paper from the University of British Columbia found that individuals with high Machiavellian tendencies specifically seek out personal information as a strategic resource, to be used when it benefits them most. The sixth behavior is triangulation, deliberately involving a third party to create jealousy, competition, or anxiety. Nietzsche understood that power in social relationships is often exercised not directly, but through engineered comparisons. A person with bad intentions will mention other people's opinions of you, create a sense of competition where none existed, or use a third person's behavior to make you question yourself. This technique is now well documented in clinical psychology. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a leading expert on narcissism at California State University, Los Angeles, has written extensively about triangulation as a control mechanism used by people with manipulative personalities to destabilize their targets and maintain an upper hand in relationships. The seventh behavior is the strategic withdrawal of warmth or approval. Nietzsche described how people with power over others often exercise that power not through aggression, but through absence. They become cold, distant, or unavailable, not because something is genuinely wrong, but because they want you to feel uncertain, to pursue them, to earn back something that was never really yours to begin with. This behavior is sometimes called intermittent reinforcement in behavioral psychology. A 2021 paper published in Behavioral Processes explained that irregular patterns of reward and withdrawal are the most psychologically binding. They create anxiety and dependency in the target, exactly what the manipulative person wants. The eighth behavior is speaking poorly about others while pretending it is concern. Nietzsche called this resentment dressed as morality. It is the person who gossips about a mutual friend under the guise of being worried about them. It is the colleague who frames their criticism of a coworker as genuine care for the organization. What looks like empathy on the surface is, in fact, a performance. These individuals use social concern as cover for spreading damaging information, undermining others' reputations, and positioning themselves as trustworthy while destroying trust around them. Research from the University of Amsterdam published in 2016 found that people who gossip frequently under the cover of moral concern score significantly higher on measures of social dominance orientation and Machiavellianism. Nietzsche's philosophy was not a comfortable one. He did not believe the world was full of good-natured people making occasional mistakes. He believed that self-deception and the will to dominate others were deeply embedded in human nature, and that wisdom begins the moment you stop assuming otherwise. He wrote, "There are no facts, only interpretations." What he meant, in part, was that the story a manipulative person tells about themselves is just that, a story. The behaviors tell the truth that the words are designed to hide. Recognizing these patterns is not cynicism. It is the kind of psychological literacy that Nietzsche spent his life trying to give the world. The people who will harm you most are rarely strangers with obvious intentions. They are the ones who made you feel understood before they used that understanding against you. Nietzsche believed the highest form of strength is clarity, the ability to see human nature without flinching, and to act wisely because of what you see, not in spite of it.